my name is Delaney Goodman, and this is for our Service Learning Project Submission 2. I'm going to go ahead and answer question 1. So question 1 asks us about the diversity of our school and how our school deals with disciplinary issues when there is a language barrier, and how we ensure that parents know about events and upcoming situations or whatever it's going on. So at my school, I work at a school that's really not as diverse as a lot of other areas are. So for the mainstream culture, it is considered diverse only because it's not made up of Caucasian students. However, it is made up of I think it's 80-something% African American students. There's about a 5% Caucasian population, and there's a few Hawaiian Pacific Islander students, and a little bit of Indian students. So it's not very diverse. It is very weighted on African American population. So it's not super diverse. And we have a pretty low ESOL population. There's not a ton of students in our ESOL population. However, the ones that we do have are less Spanish speaking and more other foreign languages. So we do have, since Spanish is mainstream sort of now, we have a parent and family coordinator who speaks Spanish, and she posts everything in Spanish on our Class Dojo page. And then we also send home letters in Spanish as well, because we do have an okay population of ESOL. It's not super high, but we do have an okay amount. However, as far as our other languages, the students that speak, for example, I have a student that speaks Burmese. We don't have anyone to translate messages for us for those languages. So as the classroom teachers, we try our hardest to either use Class Dojo, where the parent can translate the message on their end through Class Dojo, or we try to send the message or letter home in their language. It is a little bit difficult because, it's not always correct. So for example, my student that speaks Burmese, when I translate to his language, it's not always correct. Google is not accurate. So it is a little bit more difficult to translate. However, when it comes to parent conferences, we do have translators for all languages, or at least all languages that I've interacted with this school year. And that helps to not make parents feel left out, because we can communicate with them at parent conferences. I will say it makes it a little bit more difficult to communicate for disciplinary issues, because if there is an issue, then I have to find a way to get a translator. However, I fortunately have not had any disciplinary issues with students that have parents with language barriers. So I have not really had to deal with that aspect of the diversity piece yet. But I am interested to know how our school deals with that, because like I said, we do have the Spanish translator, and then we have translators for conferences, but nothing else really. So I do know that we try to be as culturally responsive as possible by providing everything in Spanish. However, with our population being mostly African American, our school has not gone above and beyond in being culturally responsive, because they really don't have a huge population of it. I do wish that we were more culturally responsive for that small population of students that speak a different language, or their parents speak a different language. But I do know that our school is trying, and in a smaller school like the one that we have, there's not as many resources. But I would love to learn more ways to include these parents and make sure that every culture is represented. As far as supports go for question 4, Noah has been the biggest support to me. He has picked up a lot of the slack still, as I've been pretty stressed about classes recently. I've had a lot of work to do with the key assessments and all of that coming up, and all the lessons that we're having to integrate, and still doing the lesson plans for work, and doing the slides for work, and planning small groups. And it has been a lot, and he has helped pick up a lot of that slack and assist me in ways that he can, such as helping me grade papers or helping me sort through papers. That has been significantly important to me, because it is a lot, and that's just tasks that I don't really have time for. So he helps me wherever he can. He's helped me enter in grades, like doing all of these things that he can to support me in whatever ways. Denise Holden, my mentor, has been fabulous. She has, she's done silly things that I feel like I don't have time for, but I want to do, like staying after last week on Wednesday to help me decorate my door for Black History Month. That's something I really wanted to do, but there's never time. So she stayed and helped me knock that out. And it really is just having that encouraging person there beside me telling me, I'll help you do this, or, I'll help you do that. Tomorrow, actually, I've been teaching my kids the same thing for a week, and they're just really struggling with it. And I asked her if she would teach it tomorrow because maybe they might understand it a little bit better coming from her. So she's going to do that for me, which is extremely helpful because I am a little frustrated right now with the fact that no one's really understanding it, and it's coins, so it's a little bit difficult to make equivalent exchanges. And she said that's something that's difficult, but I want to see if maybe she's doing something that I'm not doing. But, I'm extremely grateful for that because I am going to be able to see how someone who's been teaching for 24 years is going to teach it. And I'm grateful that she will pick up where I am struggling at or really need assistance, and she's willing to jump in. So that has been fantastic. I also think that our professors have been very understanding this semester. At least I think they have. We have a lot of assignments and a lot of stuff to do, but for example, Hulaski, whenever our group Hartsfield, when our group couldn't meet, all of us, she let us split our group because none of us could meet at the same time, which was really helpful. And I hated having to do that, but it was nice that she was understanding. So I really do appreciate the professors being willing to work with us this semester and do all that they can to ensure that we are successful. Also, I've had support from Tinch and Win a lot, as always have, and I know I always will. I don't really need as much support from y'all, but I do know that if I need it, I have it, which is awesome, and I really, really appreciate that. As far as when and you can do, there's really nothing that I can think of off the top of my head. I feel like you guys have offered everything that I've asked for. And I know that, even when last time and when I talked to y'all when we were leaving the meeting last time, I really appreciated the conversation about next school year, and it really made me feel more confident in knowing that I am making the right decision leaving my school and that I am supported, because I felt like I was giving up and leaving students and leaving my school too fast. But knowing that I'm doing the right thing and just having that support and encouragement from you guys has been amazing. And I really appreciate that more than you know. I think the only thing that really comes to mind is supporting me as I make this transition from this school to the next school. Maybe as I'm going through the hiring process. You've already been helpful with doing a recommendation or a reference for me, and I appreciate that more than you know. But I guess just over the next few months as I transition out of this school and kind of deal with that awkwardness of leaving and going somewhere else, that you continue to show your encouragement and support as you always do. But other than that, I really don't have anything. So thanks for all you do. Another area that I feel like I am struggling with is running records. Not doing running records, but figuring out a way to implement them into everyday instruction in small groups without it taking 2 weeks to get everyone's reading level. I know as conferences are coming up, I really want to be able to, tell the parents exactly where their kids are, their reading level, but it's difficult to get all of the kids running records done. It takes a long time, especially if kids level up a lot of levels, which a lot of my kids have. So I want to be able to get through all of theirs, but finding an efficient way to do it is very challenging for me, because when they're in small group and I'm teaching them reading strategies, I'm not doing a running record for all of them at the same time, because that's very challenging. So it's like pulling teeth trying to get everyone's running records completed. So if you have any tips or suggestions as to how I can more efficiently do that, I've thought about trying to find a camera and having the kids read to themselves so I can go back and do it later. But then I can't ask them comprehension questions at the end. So the running record isn't completely done because I need to understand their comprehension and, if they understood it or not. So I'm really trying to think of ideas to make it more efficient for me. Other than that, I'm okay. I don't really think there's any struggles that I'm facing other than just the efficiency of Lexile and running records right now. For questions 2 and 3, I'm going to talk about the areas in which I've grown and how I am more prepared in February than I was in January. And I'm also going to discuss some areas in which I feel like I could use some additional support and why that would be beneficial for me. So to begin with, in February, I am much more prepared as far as spring conferences go. So, I did my fall conferences, and that was the beginning of the year. I didn't know as much about their kids, and I had to do a lot of work to prepare for them. However, as I started preparing for these conferences coming up next week, I realized how ready I was because I know my students and I have that relationship with them. So I don't really have to sit down and look at their stuff because I know what they're good at and I know what they need to grow in. And I'm more familiar with the resources and the things that parents can do to help at home because that was a huge thing that I didn't really know before. So I do feel more prepared in that manner for parent conferences because it's definitely a lot easier. Additionally, I feel like I understand the vertical alignment and the pacing of the math curriculum a lot better. So I have been doing math plans since the third quarter started, and I started them over Christmas break. And because I started doing the lesson plans ahead of time, because I was not on math before, I'm able to see where the curriculum is going, what students are expected to do, and I'm better able to prepare for my instruction for my students because I know what skills they really, really need. So that has been amazing because I've become really familiar with the pacing guide and kind of how Gwinnett County does their math pacing because this was not something that I had planned in the past. So I definitely feel more prepared for math instruction, and this has helped me significantly with increasing my students' scores because I know exactly where we're going and exactly what they need to know. Some areas that I feel like I could use some additional support in is two of the most frustrating things I'm dealing with right now is Lexile scores. So we are transitioning away from F&P, and that has been really challenging because I know F&P and, we've done the reading levels and the running records, and we are shifting away from that now. And I cannot for the life of me understand Lexile. I've looked it up and I feel like there's 100 different charts everywhere you look. It's something different on every website. And I'm having a really difficult time communicating that understanding to the parents because I don't really understand it. So when a parent asks me exactly what their child's Lexile level or what their reading level is, I still base it on F&P, but I really want to be able to base it on Lexile. So that is something that I'm struggling with significantly. Hello, my name is Delaney Goodman, and this is our Service Learning 2 project submission. So question 1 says that most schools deal with diverse populations, and it's asking us what our school does to ensure that parents are aware of upcoming events, and what they do when there is a language barrier, yet there is a discipline problem. So within my school, it's not as diverse as a lot of other schools in the Hall County area. I work at a school that is about 90% African American. We have about 2% Caucasian. So, there is a little bit of diversity in there as far as from my mainstream culture. However, the school itself is not very diverse because it is really made up of one race. However, there are some students who speak a different language. Our ESOL population is pretty low, so that's not as common either. However, when there is a issue or there is something that the parents need to know about, we do have a Spanish coordinator. So she's our parent and family coordinator, and she speaks Spanish. So she actually posts everything on our Class Dojo page in Spanish for parents to see. It's also sent home on the back side of papers in Spanish. However, the other languages that parents speak, I have a student who speaks Burmese, and we don't have any translators for that at the school, and nothing is sent home for Burmese speaking parents. However, I like to send stuff over Class Dojo so that the parents can translate it to their language. I know that they can do it with Spanish. I'm not sure if they can do it with Burmese. However, it is something that they can translate themselves. And every once in a while, I will translate the message myself and then send it to them. I don't love doing that though, because it's not always accurate, but it does at least show that I attempted. As far as conferences go, we do have translators for all languages, and we have them get on the call with us so that we make sure that all parents are included and that no parents are left out because of a language barrier. However, I really have not had any disciplinary issues with my students that do not speak English. So I am not as familiar with how the school deals with those situations and needing to contact parents. However, I do know that if necessary, a Spanish speaking person in the school will translate for the parents. However, I do wish that our school was a little bit more culturally responsive, and I do believe that it's because we are not as diverse, so we do not have as many resources for a diverse school, because our school doesn't need it as much. So the students who are there and speak a different language, or their parents speak a different language, it is a little bit harder to get in communication with those parents, solely based on the fact that we don't really have the people there to help us reach out to them. However, we try our best. Spanish, we definitely reach out. However, the more difficult languages or the less common languages, we really don't have a means for. The teachers kind of have to figure that out on their own.